I'd like to call to order this meeting of County Commission, and I'll have the clerk call the roll.
Katie Huffaker.
Here.
Todd Kesterson.
Here.
Steve Douglas.
Here.
David Galt. Here. Randy Baxley. Rita Music.
Here.
Donnie Tabor.
Here.
John McGraw.
Here.
Russell Turner.
Here.
Tim Seals.
Here.
Sammy Solomon.
Here.
Robert Blevins. Here, sir. Gene Esslinger.
Here.
Randy Bales.
Here.
John Neal Scarlett.
Said he would be just a few minutes late. He's entering Danner, but he's running behind traffic.
Terry Dockery.
Here.
Robert Tucker.
Here.
Jimmy Carmichael. David Seal.
Here.
Bob Beeler.
Here.
Barbara Sheets.
Here.
Yes.
Randy Baxley's got the flu, but he said if you still want him to come, he'd be right on time.
Stay, Randall,
He told me
stay.
he wasn't coming.
Stay. All right. Excused. Okay, next, if we could have Commissioner Tabor lead us in prayer.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for another opportunity to serve you, Lord Jesus. We pray that we can do it in such a way that will bring you honor and bring you glory, Father. And Father, as we consider the welfare of the people of Jefferson County, Father, I pray that we can do it with your eyes and your ears, not our own. May you be glorified in all we do, Lord Jesus. In your holy name I pray. Amen.
Next, I want to welcome our youth service from the high school, the leadership class. They're all back there. Y'all raise your hand. And we have one of their representatives, Kendall Jensen, is going to lead us in the pledge tonight. Kendall?
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval and corrections of the agenda. Commissioner Dockery.
Chairman, I have two things in regard to new business. Item number 7, the resolution for Parish Chapel. There were several folks from that area who wanted to attend but couldn't because of the earlier than normal start time. So with that, and given the fact we've got a relatively short amount of time to the Budget Committee, I request we take that off the agenda for tonight, and I'd like to place it on the agenda for our regularly scheduled meeting in March.
Done. Any others? David Galt.
May I ask a question about that resolution? This says it's a resolution to allow Parish Chapel to secede, and I thought I read the resolution as to allow the finance director to seek out surveying costs. That's a little bit different.
Is it prudent to talk about that or wait till March, since we're on approval of the agenda?
I was just curious.
Let's do, wait, we're going to roll the entirety, and then when we get to the approval and corrections of the agenda in March, we'll address that at that point. Commissioner Seal.
Mr. Chairman, on new business number 6, Bill Gilger called me a few minutes ago and they would like to roll that to March.
Okay.
Deals.
Done. And Commissioner Kesterson.
You can strike number 4 also off new business.
Does it roll till March or is it just stricken?
It's gone.
What? Which one?
Number 4.
Okay. Are there any other corrections to the agenda?
I have one more, Chairman.
Mr. Dockery.
Item number 8, the animal shelter. I don't have anything to offer or share. I'd like to strike it from the agenda as well.
It's going to strike or roll?
Strike for my part, unless somebody else wants to put it on the agenda.
Okay. Okay, so item 6 and item 7 are rolled to March. Item 4 and item 8 have been stricken from the agenda. Is that correct? All right. Any others? Commissioner Turner?
Could we announce that to the folks that are here, exactly what was struck, so that they may not stay if they didn't want?
Certainly. Certainly. Item 4 was struck. That was rules of procedure conversation. Item 6 was for Patriot Hills, looking for a turn lane, and then what they're looking for is a study, a traffic study. Item 7 was a resolution pertaining to Parrott's Chapel, and item 8 was was listed as animal shelter. Okay. Next, we'll have the approval of the minutes. And I'll entertain a motion. Oh, let's see. The clerk has a correction.
Page 2, I apologize. Page 2 of your minutes, paragraph A, County Mayor. Item 2, Planning Commission. The ending term should be October 2021. With no objection, I'll show that corrected in the filed minutes.
Great. And I had a motion to approve, and that motion's from Solomon. Is there a second? From Bales? Is there any opposition? They're approved. The Beer Board, do I hear a motion?
So moved.
By Solomon, a second?
Second.
Is there any objection? They're approved. Next, we have the appearance of citizens, and this is an odd meeting for us. We were delayed by snow, and because of that, we had a meeting of the Budget Committee that starts at 6. So we are really pushed against it, and we've got 12 different people that are going to speak. Our rules say that they can speak for up to 3 minutes at the discretion of the chairman. So I would like to ask a couple questions of the people that are going to speak. I think most of them are here to speak in regard to the animal shelter, and if they would like to have one person that represents each side speak for 5 minutes, that would be okay, if y'all want to do that. Or we can have each person speak for 1 minute. But if we have 12 people speak for 3 minutes each, our meeting's going to be over before we get to do any business. Okay? And I definitely want your opinions and your sides to be heard. So how would you all like to proceed? Commissioner Beeler?
Do they realize this has been put off to March? Maybe they need to wait till March.
I don't know. It ain't that.
The Humane Society. There is one.
Budget.
Okay. Yeah.
As a proposal from the budget.
Okay. So everybody pretty much is here to speak for the Humane Society. So do you all want to go 1 minute each?
I do.
Okay, that's how we'll proceed. So the first one up, and what I'd ask is, when I tell you who's going to be next, go ahead and make your way over so we can transition this quickly and be direct and to the point. So first is going to be Chris Spencer, and Chris will be followed by Pascal R. Robin.
Robin.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you. Is it R-O-B-I-N? Is it R-O-B-I-N?
That's Pascal, yeah.
And it's... Okay, thank you. Okay.
I'm Chris Spencer from Dandridge, Tennessee, District 1. Having an open admission shelter does mean that there will be more euthanasia than in a closed admission shelter. Why? Because no animal is going to be turned away regardless of its perceived adoptability. By not accepting every animal, your euthanasia rate will go up, your intake will stay down, but that only transfers the task of euthanasia to another shelter, or even worse. Those animals are left to their own defenses and become prey, hit by car, starve, or become victims to heinous acts by humans. The term euthanasia means good death, and it is a lot more humane than turning animals in need away.
The HSC board has been on a recent number binge of just how many animals have been euthanized over the years, even suggesting that some of those animals may have been saved. It's an eye-opening experience working in an open admission shelter that really can't be explained unless you're in the trenches. Nobody wants to see an animal put to death, but what is more humane? Letting them suffer from illness, injury, letting them sit in a cage for months, or even in extreme cases, turning them away so the numbers look good. I do not want my tax dollars to fund a humane society that picks and chooses which animals are deserving. I feel all funding should be seized.
Thank you, Ms. Spencer. Next, Pascal, and following that will be Scott Lubis.
I'm Pascal Roban, District 2 in Dandridge, and I was a previous Community Outreach Director and Certified Animal Euthanasia Tech for the Humane Society. I'm speaking about the new policy of no open admissions to HSJC. The entire board is limiting Jefferson County intakes for companion animals. What they fail to realize is that in the state of Tennessee, Tennessee Statute Section 7.1, a feral cat is a companion animal. Mr. Lewis said it was not. A pot-bellied pig and a mini pig, also a companion animal if they are not raised for human food consumption. My suggestion is for the entire board to read the laws of the state of Tennessee in regards to animals, since they're on an animal shelter board. The board of directors as a whole choose to accept county money, then stop open admissions for fiscal year 2017. The previous board president asked the county for funds, as they do every year. In her allocation for funds, she stated that the Humane Society would continue to operate as an open admission shelter. The current board is in violation of the request. I request that all funding be suspended to Humane Society due to their lack of transparency with the county commissions and their unwillingness to answer questions from the public.
Thank you, ma'am. Next is Scott Lubis, and he will be followed by Matthew Bobick.
And I have 5 for the Humane Society, and then nobody else wants to talk.
No. I'm going to do it. I'm just going
to finish everything in less than 1 minute.
And I understand that, and I hate that we're pushed like this, and obviously it was a weather event. I don't know if I knew there were 5 other people that were going to be speaking on your side, then I would pull those. And that may be the case, Mr. Lubis. Are there 5 other people that were going to be speaking from your side?
I don't know how many were speaking on my side.
Next was Bruce Galigish, and then Linda McSmith.
I'm not part of the animal shelter.
Are you speaking with Mr. Lubis?
No, I'm not part of the animal shelter, or the Humane Society at all.
Okay. Okay, let's just move forward. Next is Matthew Bobick.
He's not part of the Humane Society.
You're right. I'm not talking about the Humane Society either. You can strike me. The item I was going to speak about has been stricken from me.
Okay. And Ms. McSmith, do you want stricken too or no?
I do want to speak.
Okay. So Bruce is next.
Excuse me.
Did they come up at the last meeting? Did they talk at the work session?
Okay. So there's a couple of you that were on speaking from that side. Next was going to be Jean Ringa. And following Jean would be Honey Miller.
I'm Jean Ringa, I'm District 7. If the current board does not resign, I hope the county will hold them liable and in violation of an implied contract. When they solicited their yearly allocation from the county, the request stated, and I quote, "The HSJC provides the services of the shelter to the entire population of Jefferson County and cities within the county." Fast forward to a public service announcement, and again I quote, "As of 12/26/2017, open surrender will be discontinued at the Jefferson County Animal Shelter. This includes Jefferson County residents, animal control, and out-of-county residents. A limited admission shelter does not provide the services of the shelter to the entire population. I would hope the county would make every effort to recover the funds they have allocated and already remitted to the Humane Society for the fiscal year 2017-2018 for being in violation of an implied contract in addition to freezing future funding." I'll just keep it
Thank you, Ms. Ringa. Next is Shirley Hammond.
Honey Miller.
How about Honey Miller?
I'm sorry. Honey Miller, then following Honey will be Shirley Hammond.
All right, Honey Miller, District 8. As you commissioners are aware, I recently worked on an action plan with Scott Lubis to help them return to open surrender. In that plan, it stated that they would return to open surrender on February 1 for dogs and on March 1 for cats. This action plan was sent to the Humane Society Board. They agreed on it. After the last Humane Society Board meeting, I was told that their plans had changed. So, with transparency and accountability to you, and I believe you all had received a copy of that action plan, I'm here to tell you I do not have a plan to present to you tonight because their plans have changed. I thank you guys for your time, and I actually have a copy of the action plan and the results of my community meeting that I held that had solutions to help them return to an open surrender.
If you would just hand those to Ms. Mitchell, and Ms. Mitchell, if you would distribute those following the meeting, at the close of the meeting. Thank you. And next is Shirley Hammond. Okay. Janet Lubis. Okay. I'll tell you what, there are 4 of you. If they want to allocate those 4 minutes, what about Gail Farzanigan? Is that also with the...
I will not speak because 1 minute is not enough time to address this important issue.
Yes, ma'am. Are you also with the Humane Society?
Yes, the Humane Society. Oh, no, the animal shelter.
Okay, so there's 4 of you: Shirley Hammond, Scott Lubis, Janet Lubis, and Bruce. Yes. And if the 4 of you want to make your 4 minutes go to Scott or to any other spokesperson, that's fine.
We prepared a 3-minute speech because that's what the procedure is always provided.
I understand.
Is that okay? 5?
Sure.
Okay, thanks. This is 4.
It's 4 minutes. We're going to have 4 minutes. You may begin.
This is all about a memo ensuring continued operation of the animal shelter. This memo originated in funding discussions held by the ACOB and included the idea of charging for intake. This idea wasn't new. In March, the ex-president of the Humane Society gave the Budget Committee a proposal that included this, and I quote, if our allocation is not increased, we see no alternative except to charge a fee on intake of any and all animals from any source within the county. By November, Commissioner McGraw was stating that he believed the animal shelter was a lean operation but felt charging for intake would backfire because county constituents think the county should supply this service. He said the shelter needs to be fully funded and later suggested that with funds cut, we may need to cut services. That's all in ACOB minutes. Speaking of the ACOB, do you know that the at-large appointee and vice chair was at one time co-president of the Humane Society? And you know what she did during her term? She shut the Humane Society down. She shut the shelter down for 3 months. I guess the animals abandoned back then didn't have the same value as the ones we're accused of abandoning right now. That brings up inadequate leadership, and that brings us to the former president of the Humane Society. Why was she questioned incessantly? Because she wasn't accountable to the organization. She failed at the simplest tasks. Every dollar is precious to a nonprofit, and she wasted plenty. Here's some examples. Twice in 2012 and again in 2015, we were denied our registration to solicit charitable funds. In 2013, the Humane Society was administratively dissolved because we didn't file our annual report. In 2015, we were notified by the IRS of our total failure to file Form 990 and penalized $1,620. If she was failing at the basics, how do you think the more complex issues like P&Ls and decisions on policy were handled? The same issues arise with our former euthanasia certified employees. Humane Society records show that on May 25th and 26th, 12 cats were euthanized. That was on a Thursday and a Friday. On the 27th and 28th, the euthanasia room was cleaned by one of the former managers. On the morning of the 29th, Monday, the kennel tech assigned to the euthanasia room found a decomposing cat on the floor of the youth room. Did the person doing euthanasia not dispose of the cat properly? Could they not count to 12? Did the one cleaning just leave the rotting cat on the floor over the weekend? By the way, I've got pictures and documentation if you want me to send it to you. Still, we didn't fire these people. We tried to make progressive and positive changes, responsible changes. And then these people all quit. They disapprove of our policies put in place to clean up the mess they left us, and now they want to save our shelter. Never underestimate how hard people will fight for the chance to treat animals like trash. Remember, the loudest protesters usually have the most to hide. Managing a shelter isn't easy, and the board and employees still here aren't the ones who quit. Quit on the Humane Society, quit on Jefferson County, quit on the animals, just plain quit. The Humane Society of Jefferson County believes that all animals in our custody are entitled to these 5 freedoms: freedom from hunger and thirst, freedom from discomfort, freedom from pain, injury, or disease, freedom to express normal behavior, and freedom from fear and distress. Most shelters should be asked, forced, or threatened into holding animals under inadequate or inhumane conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. A question from Ms. Huffaker.
I have a question. I have 3 questions. When do you expect to return to open surrender? Do you have a plan?
I have a proposal.
Would you step back to the podium so everyone can hear you? Thank you. Ms. Huffaker, will you speak into the microphone?
Do you have a plan to return back to open surrender, and can you share that with us?
No.
Well, just a simple...
It's about a minute. If I read it, it's about a minute. I've got a prepared plan.
You can answer her question.
Yes, I have a plan.
What is the plan?
The plan is to return to open surrender until we reach humane capacity. When capacity is reached, we're going to call on our...
Hey, order.
We're going to call on our fosters to help us free up space. We have a private contractor that will come in and do euthanasia, as we talked about at one of the previous meetings. And we're going to ask County Commission to designate a representative to come in and select animals for euthanasia. That can be the ACOB or...
Okay. Do you have a date?
We can probably do it immediately.
And your current personnel, can you describe if you all resolved the issues with the personnel?
The personnel that's at the employees at the shelter now?
Yeah, do you have employees over there at the shelter now?
Do we have employees? Yes, we have 7 or 8 employees right now.
And have you turned any animals away from animal control?
You can ask the sheriff that. I would say no.
Where is the sheriff? Oh. Have they turned any animal control animals away at the shelter? How many? Do you know how many animals you've turned away?
We turned away evidently a couple the first 2 days because of mixed messages to the former employees. That was in December.
An email went out to...
Do you have other questions, Ms. Huffaker?
No.
Okay. Commissioner Bales?
We received an email from Mr. Daglish today saying that there was 106 in January of this year. There was intake, if I'm thinking that's correct, and last year it was 176. How did that... It's kind of odd to me that you're almost over 50% or 76 or so less animals for the month of January. And I read the email, but I'm not sure that I understand how there's that big of a discrepancy from not turning animals away.
The explanation is that last January there was at least one person that came in with 12 animals. There were a couple of other instances where people came in with multiple animals. That has not happened yet this January. It could happen tomorrow. We've still got 2 days in January.
And do you feel that the animals not being brought in or because we're no longer open surrender because I do?
I don't know.
Any other questions for Mr. Lewis? Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
Thank you.
Next is Linda McSmith.
Do I have 3 minutes since I'm not on the animal?
1 minute.
Well, then I might as well not talk because it was a continuation of my workshop that I didn't get to finish, but...
If you want. Hey, any of you that didn't have time to speak, we'll be back on a regular schedule in March, and we'll have time to hear all of you. One other thing that I would request is that any of you that didn't get to express your full conversation tonight, we're interested. We want to know. And our emails are posted on the website. You can hit them, Miss Peggy, if you'll put it out, and it could be a 10-minute speech. If you'll give us the information, we're here to learn, we're here to research, we're here to figure out what it is going on. So we're here, okay? So shoot us an email, shoot it to Miss Peggy, and Miss Mitchell, if you'll get that out to everyone, that'd be great. Okay? Anyone that sends you an email. And then I'm going to ask Commissioner Kesterson if he would accept the chair. I need to speak, and I'll hold to the same 60 seconds. Okay. I just want to tell the commissioners that I've enjoyed serving with you all for the last 8 years, 2 terms. I'm going to seek election of county mayor. I'm going to run for that position, and I appreciate what you all do day in and out. And one thing that I'm going to pledge to do is have the county mayor's office build trust with commission and work together with commission instead of having any kind of adversarial relationship, and see what all we can get done for the county. So I appreciate your support, I appreciate your help, and I appreciate your vote.
Is that all?
Next on the agenda is let's see, approval of notaries and bonds, and we had a correction or two. Is that right? Okay. The clerk has passed out that addition. Do we have a motion? Motion by Commissioner Scarlett. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Seals. Any opposed? Those are approved. Next, we have an election to fulfill a vacancy of the constable in the 1st District. Commissioner Scarlett.
I'd like to nominate Don Armour. Second.
We have a second. Are there any other nominations? Is there any opposition? Don Armour will be the next constable in District 1. Thank you.
He's standing back there.
Don, you want to raise up your hand? Thank you for serving.
You want to speak?
There's reports from elected officials, department heads, and others. County Mayor Alan Palmieri, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen of the County Commission, I'll be brief. I have 3 items. One of them, I was talking to Chairman of the Animal Oversight Committee, Commissioner Bales, a little while ago, and we discussed the fact I had received a phone call from a member of the Humane Society who said she'd been trying for a long time to get copies of the minutes, and she's been unsuccessful.
I don't think it was a member of the Humane Society. If it's the same person I spoke to.
We might have a couple different ones. So
he contacted me, Ruth Gerard.
Right. The other thing I have is I passed out earlier a letter from our Attorney General on the opioid situation. If Commission will remember back some months ago, we had an attorney that was representing the Attorney General's district that made a presentation looking for the county to sign a contract to get on board so they could file a class action lawsuit. Since that time, the Attorney General has been able to move forward himself, but I was contacted by a local attorney, Richard Talley, who's involved in a class action lawsuit to the tune of around $800 billion. So if Jefferson County would like to become part of that lawsuit, and receive some funding from that. If Commission Chair would just let me know, I'd be happy to set up a time for a presentation from Mr. Talley so everybody could ask questions if they would like to ask.
We'd appreciate that, Mayor. Commissioner McGraw.
Yeah, can we add that like to the March meeting? Is that appropriate time?
Are you wanting to do it as a standalone meeting, or do you want to?
Whatever would benefit.
What kind of time will we need for it?
Depends on how many questions you have. I'm sure his presentation probably would run about 15 minutes, but I can't speak exact to that. So I would assume 15 minutes, and then whatever kind of questions that you would have.
What's the pleasure of the body? Would you like to do that at our work session in March, or would you like to do that prior to that?
Work session.
Would you set that up for the work session?
I'll be happy to, and I'll be glad to notify you his response.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Last thing I have is a comment about Parrott's Chapel. There has been numerous groups that have presented petitions to this body and to my office, and I'd like to say that in my years of public service, the people of Parrott's Chapel have been the most respectful and open and honest and cordial and patient with the request that they feel needs to be addressed. I am opposed to seeing any of our county property succeeded in going over to another county. That just doesn't taste well with me. I think that's wrong. But I also feel whether you live in Parrott's Chapel or Dandridge or Strawberry Plains or Talbot, wherever you live, if you live in this county, you are entitled to the same quality and level of service that everyone else is. And I feel like there are some deficiencies in that area that need to be addressed. I'm in favor of seeing the residents that live in the Parrott's Chapel area remain Jefferson County residents. However, for the last 8 years, our Budget Committee and County Commission has focused on cutting budgets and reducing expenditures, when at the same time we're having parts of our county that need to be serviced. The roads over there, some of them are bad. They need to be taken care of. If it's ambulance service, we have to build another substation. That may be required. So I would hope that, number one, that we don't allow them to succeed and go over into Sevier County. I hope we keep them, but I hope we also fund the things that need to be funded over there to bring their level of service up. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Next is Sheriff Bud McCoy. I understand. Is there any report from the county attorney? Any questions? Department heads and directors, Finance Director, Langdon Potts. County School Summary Financial Statements. We got a handout there. Reports from committees, boards, and commissions. And we'll begin with John Neal Scarlett, Budget Committee.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to yield the floor to Mr. John. He was Vice Chair and served in my stead. I was gone, so I'd like to ask him to give the report.
Mr. McGraw, you have the floor.
Bear with me, Mr. Chairman, because this is a lengthy session. Let's see if I can stay on track. The very first thing you have is the animal shelter budget, and that was debated at our budget committee earlier this month, 8th of January. We heard from many of the same citizens that came tonight, and your budget committee voted 7-1 to withhold the final $35,000 from the Humane Society until the Humane Society of Jefferson County presents an acceptable plan of open surrender shelter. And that's a motion from the Budget Committee, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion from the Budget Committee. It doesn't need a second. Is there any discussion?
I'd like to move to amend that motion by stating that until it is presented and implemented.
Okay, and I don't know that we can, the committee can accept that by consent, so I guess we'll need to vote on that. So there's an amendment to that motion on the floor. If you're in favor of the amendment to include the verbiage of implementation of the plan, then raise your hand.
We need a second there.
Second by Commissioner Bales. All those in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? One opposed. The ayes have it. So the motion stands as amended, and there's a motion on the floor. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
The ayes have it. Ms. McGraw?
The second thing that we will need to look at is our resolutions, and Mr. Potts is hopefully helping me on these. The first one you have in your packet is General Fund 101, Amendment 6. It's a page with 8 items, actually. Yes, 8 items. 2 of these, Mr. Chairman, involve the fund balance, and so we will need a roll call vote on it. This was unanimously adopted by the committee, 1 through 8. The fund balance, if you'd like for me to say, comes first of all from medical insurance benefits for county employees, and the second, item 7, is fund balance, extra $7,000 needed for equipment for the senior citizens, and I believe that was the purchase of a van. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Purchase of a van that we need $7,000 more from fund balance on that, and this comes as a motion from the Budget Committee, Mr. Chairman.
Is there any discussion?
I have a question.
Ms. Music.
Money for the van for the senior citizens, is that for the whole county, John? Because
I think so, Ms. Music. I'm pretty sure it is. But yes, Mr. Longmire says it is.
Where does the van stay? I mean, do they use it? They swap around every day, right?
Wherever they need that.
I'm sorry, I can't answer that.
Any other questions? Mr. Steele.
Which amendment numbers are we on?
101, Amendment 6. There's 8 items.
Okay, thank you.
See it? 2 of them involve fund balance.
Seeing no other questions, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Katie Huffaker.
Yes.
Todd Kesterson.
Yes.
Steve Douglas.
Yes.
David Galt.
Yes.
Rita Music.
No.
Donnie Tabor.
Yes.
John McGraw.
Yes.
Russell Turner.
Yes.
Tim Seals.
Yes.
Sammy Solomon.
Yes.
Robert Blevins.
Yes, sir.
Gene Esslinger.
Yes.
Randy Bales.
Yes.
John Neal Scarlett.
Yes.
Terry Dockery.
Yes.
Robert Tucker.
Yes.
David Seal.
Yes.
Bob Beeler.
Yes.
Barbara Sheets.
Yes.
10-1.
The ayes have it. 13-1. 18-1. Commissioner McGraw?
There are 2 more items. I hope I can take them together because they neither one involve fund balance, and that's General Fund 101, Amendment 7, reallocation of funds in the Sheriff's Department, and then 171, Amendment 2, which is items 1 and 2, which again do not involve fund balance. The first item on Amendment 2 is the White Pine School construction expense shifting of funds, and the second is a building improvement grant to accept if we can take them both together.
I want to split them because they're from different funds.
Different funds, yes, sir. So the first is 101, Amendment 7, motion from the Budget Committee.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
The second is Capital Fund 171, Amendment 2. Does not involve fund balance, Mr. Chair.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Mr. McGraw?
Highway Fund 131, Amendment 1 is the purchase of a tandem trailer, 12 tons, and it does involve fund balance. This comes out of the budget of the Highway Department, Mr. Chair.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. I'm sorry.
That has to have a roll call.
I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Katie Huffaker.
Yes.
Todd Kesterson.
Yes.
Steve Douglas.
Yes.
David Galt.
Yes.
Rita Music.
Yes.
Donnie Tabor.
Yes.
John McGraw.
Yes.
Russell Turner.
Yes.
Tim Seals.
Yes.
Sammy Solomon.
Yes.
Robert Blevins.
Yes, sir.
Gene Esslinger.
Yes.
Randy Bales.
Yes.
John Neal Scarlett.
Yes.
Terry Dockery.
Yes.
Robert Tucker.
Yes.
David Seal.
Yes.
Bob Beeler.
Yes.
Barbara Sheets.
Yes.
Mr. McGraw?
And the next is General Purpose Fund 141 concerning the schools. Budget Amendment number 11 does not involve fund balance. There are 4 items. More than anything, it's accepting grants and funds from various institutions and shifting for Medicaid reimbursement. Move that the exception, Mr. Chair.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
And the next is from the schools, Federal Purpose Fund 142, Budget Amendment number 6. Discrepancy in the original budget does not involve fund balance. Mr. Chair, move it be accepted.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
I think the final thing that I have is the General Fund 101, Amendment 8. May I just briefly explain to the County Commission, this is our recommendation that passed the Budget Committee 6-2 to properly fund, Commissioner Galt, what was the word? Restoration? Is that restoration? Thank you. Restoration of the general education office next door, and I will not say the other word that we usually have. What that involves is, as you remember, we set aside $950,000 for that restoration. There have been additions to the plan since we actually set this money aside. Some of the ones are making cubicles that would reflect privacy more than just a petition, so that individual offices could be more private with, of course, school business, especially as it pertains to students. So when we get through with everything, McSpadden, the art general contractor, the architect, made a presentation to our budget committee, and you have copies of all of that, including a dollar amount. So the motion from the budget committee with a 6-2 vote is to approve 101 number 8. This does involve $328,777 from our general fund balance. Motion from the committee.
And there's discussion. Commissioner Seal.
A couple of quick questions for the budget chair. Were multiple competitive bids taken on this? Can you walk me through the process of how we got the scope of work and how we arrived at this price? I don't have the benefit of the analysis of the budget.
Right, and I'll yield to Mr. Longmire if that's okay, because I could guess at it, but he's accurate.
I have with me tonight Mr. Charles McSpadden, who is the construction manager, and the myself, Mr. Potts, our architect firm, Brewer Ingram Fuller, all went through the building with the engineering firm that was included in that. And it was put out for bid. It's been advertised in the papers and online, and we received bids on the trade packages to come up with the firm figures that we have tonight. Everyone had an opportunity. Calls were made to different people who do these trades.
Commissioner Beeler.
What did we have as far as noise and everything enclosed, what you're wanting to do now instead of the petition? What did we have before?
Petition.
Just petition?
Yes.
So this is
This includes several different things, Mr. Beeler. It includes ADA restrooms, which we didn't have, entranceways. It also includes remodeling of the top floor to put petitions and office spaces in where HIPAA can be applied and put in place. Restoration of the heat and air system, electrical system, restoration of the, if you want to use that, restoration of the whole building, basically. There's a dirt floor that's got to be taken care of downstairs, mold remediation.
Well, I understand that there's state law saying that things has changed, but I'm sure that if the petitions are still legal, I don't know, how much money is more is it going to cost to enclose that instead of the petition?
I don't have a breakdown on that. This is what we invited the school system in on to give their input into, and this is what they recommend. This is what we took into play right here.
But did you address it to the school board, or who did you?
We addressed it to the director of facilities for the school system, and then I think he addressed it to the school.
I'll just respond to Commissioner Bennett. They were just the little tiny petitions, you know, like you would have a room divider or something like that, and this actually makes offices. And of course, privacy is ultimate concern now in all school issues. So
yes.
If I remember correctly, it was less than $100,000 on that particular thing, but there were multiple things that came up. Again, we had appropriated $950,000, but we had never thought that would be the final figure. This is the first time that we've had the pencil put to it with everything included. I think that's some of the confusion, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I thought I heard him say something about $500,000.
I always said it was be closer to $1 million than it would be anything.
I'm talking about the petitions to enclose it.
Oh, I don't.
Oh no.
I never heard that figure.
I think it was. Well, I'm shooting.
Well,
it's less than $100,000.
But I'm just bringing it up. Yep. We run it for years without that, and now all of a sudden now it seems like we want to. I don't want to say my Taj Mahal, but I'm saying now it seems like we want a lot more than we're used to.
Other questions? Commissioner Gall.
I don't doubt that if we were to proceed with this, we're going to get a good building. We're going to get an efficient building. I just don't know that I can say it's the right thing to do for us. You all know I was for the county complex. Yeah, I feel like if we proceed with this, if we put this much money in that building, that starts us on a path that we're going to have to commit to updating, restoring, whatever you want to call it, the rest of the buildings in our county fleet, or whatever you want to call it, in our ownership. I mean, this courthouse, I mean, we just have several buildings that are in need of a lot of work. So I just caution us that if we do this, I feel like we're committing to all the others.
Do you have a question?
Call for a question.
Yeah.
She did have her hand up, and we'll just check. Commissioner Scarlett's called for the question. This is going to be a vote to see if the question is going to be called. If you're in favor of calling the question, signify by raising your right hand. If you're opposed to calling the question, raise your right hand. Did you get a count on that?
I got 7 opposed.
So there'll be 12 in favor of the call. So the question's been called. The question's been called, so we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor? Oh, wait a minute. This is fund balance. This is going to be a roll call. This is going to be a roll call vote.
I'd like to say something before you do that.
You can have a point of information if you got a question about what the motion
Point
is.
of information. This lady had her hand up before he hollered to take a vote. Shouldn't she have the chance to do that?
Sure, she'd already spoke once, so.
Not on that subject.
I'm sorry.
No, the question's been called. Okay, so I'll ask the clerk to call a roll.
Katie Huffaker,
Yes.
Todd Kesterson.
Yes.
Steve Douglas,
Yes.
David Galt,
No.
Rita Music,
Yes.
Donnie Tabor,
Yes.
John McGraw,
Yes.
Russell Turner, No. Tim Seals,
No.
Sammy Solomon,
No.
Robert Blevins,
No, sir.
Gene Etzlinger,
No.
Randy Bales,
Yes.
John Neal Scarlett,
Yes.
Terry Dockery,
Yes.
Robert Tucker,
No.
David Seal,
No.
Bob Beeler,
No.
Barbara Sheets.
Yes.
10 to 9. 10 to 9. The motion fails. 10 to 9. Mr. McGraw, you have the floor.
Thank you. Two more items. I'll
Right,
try
there were
to
10
get
yeses, there were 9
quickly.
no's. Has to be 11 to pass.
Mr. Chair, on the back of your education building renovation sheet is Capital Fund 171, Amendment 3. And this is relocating funds transferred from 101 to repair the central office, which now appears to be a moot point. Exactly. So we probably don't even need to vote on it, in my opinion. Would that be Finance Director's opinion as well?
If you can't do that, we don't get the vote.
So I would withdraw that as acting chair of that committee. One final one, Mr. Chair, and that is 116, Sanitation Fund 116, Amendment 1. We now lease the property, and I'm sure Commissioner Galt could fill us in if we need it. We lease the property at the Strawberry Plains Convenience Center. Suddenly, this has come available to purchase. We have looked at the property price in that area. It is $29,000, so the Budget Committee said, let's have a little wiggle room, and we need to authorize the Finance Director, no, it would be Mr. Longmire, to actually try to purchase this piece of property for up to $30,000, and that was a unanimous motion from the Budget Committee.
Is there money coming out of fund balance for that?
It is, yes, $30,000.
Okay, 30,000. Commissioner Galt? and then
116 fund balance.
Right, the sanitation fund.
Does it require a roll call vote?
I think so.
Okay. Commissioner Bales, did you have something?
No, I just making sure you got it.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Katie Huffaker,
Yes.
Todd Kesterson,
Yes.
Steve Douglas,
Yes.
David Galt,
Abstain.
Rita Music,
Yes.
Donnie Tabor,
Yes.
John McGraw,
Yes.
Russell Turner,
Yes.
Tim Seals,
Yes.
Sammy Solomon,
Yes.
Robert Blevins,
Yes, sir.
Gene Etzlinger,
Yes.
Randy Bales,
Yes.
John Neal Scarlett,
Yes.
Terry Dockery,
Yes.
Robert Tucker,
Yes.
David Seal,
Yes.
Bob Beeler,
Yes.
Barbara Sheets.
Yes.
18-0, the motion passes.
That's it, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much for your patience.
Thank you, Ms. McGraw. Next, we have Conservation Board Chairman Robert Tucker, and I've got nothing but good news. Hey, all of you all have this paper? Yes, Mr. Galt.
Before we leave this, we had some resolutions for surplus in our packet. Do we need to address those?
Sir, new business.
That's later on, David.
Sorry. Okay, so Conservation Board, if all of you will pick up the big sheet of paper you've got there, it's a map of the new recreational park that we've been working on for about a year now. And this park is going to be to the tune of $500,000 is what it's going to cost. And our goal, when I set out as chair in this thing, was to do it with zero tax dollars. And I wanted to go ahead and show you all the progress we've made. We've got it all laid out. It's about a 3/4 mile paved track. There'll be a future expansion for a possible dog park. There's parking lots. And we had a lot of people come together to make this happen, but we are on track to do this with zero tax dollars. So that's where the Conservation Board's headed, and we will continue to update you. We're meeting with ETED and a state grant department and the mayor's office, and myself will be meeting this Thursday to finalize some things. Then we've got to get a couple resolutions through with you guys, and we're about to do something really great for Jefferson County. Any questions?
Is it a secret about the funding, where the funding's coming from?
No.
Does it not say?
No, I'm happy to say where the funding's coming from. What we did was we found out that we could do a grant for up to $250,000 if we had in-kind contributions of $250,000. So by the IDB joining us and giving us the 17 acres and then Safe Space giving us that 4 acres, we were able to value the land at $176,000. So then we've spoken with other entities that are going to be doing other parts of this project, and the total in-kind contributions, including the $176,000 in land, comes to the $250,000. So then we're going to be able to get a state grant for the other $250,000, so it's going to be zero tax dollars.
Good, good.
I'm excited about it, and we'll keep you all posted as we move forward.
Who's going to keep it up after it's done? The county
It'll be the county. Yep.
expense?
Okay, next is the Finance Committee Chairman. Back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We met this evening and completed something we started back several months ago, and that was that we had 10 properties that the county owned after the tax sale that we put out for bid. And I'm talking about the county as we. And Mr. Longmire, of course, advertised these properties. Everything was done in order. I'm happy to report 7 of the 10 sold, which means that now taxpayers will be paying taxes on those pieces of property again, which is a good thing. 3 of them did not sell, which is not a good thing. So what we as a Finance Committee voted unanimously to do this evening is to give to the county legislative body the decision of how much, if at all, we will ask for the 3 pieces of property. Do you have this in your handout at all? There are 3 pieces of property, West Old AJ Highway, one off Indian Creek Road. In the original bids, that was property number 1, property number 2, and property number 7. None of these brought in bids at all. So what we have recommended is that these 3 be given to the county legislative body per law. And of course, Mr. Churchwell's here, and he'll be glad to answer your questions about the legality of this, and ask the county legislative body to find a proper selling price for these 3. And may I say, just an explanation, Mr. Tucker, Mr. Chairman, that it might be a real good idea for this body to ask Susan Gass, our property assessor, to give us some sort of a figure that would be acceptable, less than the taxes that are owed. So this comes from the Finance Committee. All three of these would come to the county legislative body to find the appropriate price.
First is Commissioner Beeler, then Commissioner Seal.
What's the sizes of these three properties?
I have to yield to their, not real large. Mr. Longmire, do you have the ones there?
I do somewhat,
And again, these have already been put out for bid, and we did not get an appropriate bid to at least cover the taxes.
Well, I know there's certain restrictions that you have to be a certain size before you can build on it. I just wondered if you can't build on it or can't do nothing with it, what do we want?
Expansion of their current property. We're trying to follow the law that says that now, because they did not sell, we'd like to get it back to the county legislative body to set a certain price for these. And again, all of us feel like probably Susan Gass would be the best person to advise this county commission on that sort of thing.
I'm sorry, sir, I do not have them in my papers tonight.
Okay, Commissioner Seal.
Very quickly, Mr. Chairman, I just think it'd be appropriate to add an amendment to that to seek advice from Susan Gass, the property assessor, before we move this in full body. Once we have her advice on it, then we can take appropriate action. So I so move, Mr. Chairman, an amendment.
Okay, let me see.
I'll second it as a commissioner, but I can't speak for the entire finance committee.
Okay. Okay, so the Finance Committee's motion is to send it to County Commission, and the amendment made by Commissioner Seal with the second by Commissioner McGraw is that we seek advice from the assessor.
To provide a minimum price on the property.
Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign? The ayes have it. And we'll put that on the March agenda if we need to reach out to Ms. Gass and see if we can get that valuation.
One final property acquired in the tax sale, and these may come up along as we look at the books and as people make recommendations or at least make bids on some county-owned property. There is property on Hensley Hollow Road in Dandridge. What we're able to do and what the Finance Committee recommends, and this is just for information and not for a vote, is that we will advertise. We think that there is someone interested in that piece of property. They will give a bid on that piece of property, and then there will be advertisement in our local media with 10 days for anyone to make a higher bid, if indeed it is, before it's accepted, and then goes to the mayor's office. Is that right, Mr. Churchwell, for his signature, whether it's appropriate or not. So it's all done in the legal fashion. Any questions? I'd be glad to yield to Mr.
One for Mr. Beeler, and then Mr. Kesterson, then Mr. Dockery.
But we have all rights to turn down any bid. Is that correct?
If it does not meet the taxes that are owed on it, then the bid will be turned down. Isn't that correct?
There are different procedures for offering. Under the 81 Act, the Finance Committee can offer those to come back to the title of the county for an amount at or in excess of the taxes that were due to the city and county for that parcel. But on this week particularly, it came back around, that minimum bid was not met, so it comes back to the full body because the Finance Committee can't offer for less than the taxes that are due. This particular parcel he's talking about now is one that was from, it goes way back. There's a very small amount of money. There's a joiner or someone who's shown interest. And so the procedure there, they have the ability to offer, or the mayor has the ability to offer take an offer on that, and then advertise that offer to allow other citizens the opportunity to increase it. If they don't, then that person would be corrected, because it does exceed the amount of the taxes.
And I'm sure the mayor will be more than happy to answer questions.
Commissioner Kesterson.
Is it possible to ask if you all could email us these parcels of land that are in question, a description of them, location, possibly the tax map, so that we can all look at that?
Commissioner Dockery.
I was just going to say for information, and Mr. Kesterson for sure might be interested, Hensley Hollow Road is the one I'm familiar with. There should only be one. It's on the southern side of Chestnut Hill. It's probably got a damaged address, but it's not in the city limits. It's very close to Cott County. It's in a rural, it's really kind of the foothills of English Mountain. But it's southern side of Chestnut Hill, close to Cott County line.
Commissioner McGraw.
I think that's all, Mr. Chairman. Unless we have other questions.
That's it. Okay. Moving into new business, Finance Director Langdon Potts. Sir, you have the floor.
Two resolutions. First one is 2018-1, surplus to donate for the building department.
So moved.
Got a motion? Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Next one's 2018-1. I guess I did it backwards there. For the, no, excuse me, I had it correct. The next one's 2018-2, surplus some vehicles, Sheriff's Department to the Blount County Training Academy where we train our...
Motion by Seal. Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Next is item 3. Okay, our commission secretary is leaving us, and I know we're all going to miss her. She's done a great job. I wish you well in your new endeavors, but that leaves us in a bit of a bind. We need a secretary, and so I'm going to ask first if Commissioner Turner, are you the chair of the Personnel Committee?
Yes, ma'am.
If you would get the Personnel Committee together and get us moving forward, I'm going to ask second for Ms. Mitchell as one of your final acts as our secretary to get advertisement for that position. The next piece we have to talk about though is, will that position be filled with a full-time position, or are we looking for a part-time position? And the reason I bring that up is Ms. Mitchell was a unique circumstance. She already had her insurance stuff covered, so to bring her on full-time was not the same cost that it will be to bring on a full-time replacement who does not have that in place. And Langdon, do you know what the difference in cost would be if you replaced the secretary with a secretary at the same rate, but you were picking up those extra benefits? What the increased cost would be?
I'd have to look at it. The insurance loans averages $8,000 to $9,000.
Okay. So it's going to be something that will be a substantial change. And so I wanted to bring that before the body to see what the pleasure of the body would be. Commissioner Turner.
First, just a point of information here is we're talking about changing the job description here. We're doing multiple things. As I recall, when we went back, when we gave Miss Peggy full-time, it was not just because she had insurance and it was going to save us a little money. I believe we do things a little bit more prudently than that. I think it was that we needed her, and I still believe we need a commission secretary that's full-time, because the secretary serves every one of us equally. Every one of us equally, not one person or a group of persons. And she's responsible for bringing and synthesizing a tremendous amount of information from every department, and it ebbs and it flows, as some know better than others, of how much that information load can be. So I'm fine with accepting it to the committee to go forward, but we're talking about advertising the current position, which is full-time, which has the job description that was used to hire Miss Peggy in the first place, with the amendment to make her full-time, where we changed that. But otherwise, we're going to have to go off and talk about the job description if we're going to start changing hours, because there's quite a bit of workload there that comes with where she is. On top of that, we probably need some transition time, because I don't know anybody wants to start cold. We might need to ask Miss Peggy if she would do some transition a little bit in the future when we do get our new person. So I mean, there's a lot to talk about. I just don't know that we need to talk about changing our job description here. Maybe that needs to be at the committee level recommendation.
Okay. Commissioner Bales.
When is your last day?
Close of business this Wednesday.
So there won't be any transition from her to the next
Not
person?
now. Have her come back, when we do get somebody maybe.
We'll have to pay her.
Of course.
And she deserves it if we do that.
Don't do anything for free.
So it sounds like the position is to look for a replacement full-time secretary. Is that the pleasure of the body? Okay. Then Commissioner Turner, if you would move forward with that. Ms. Peggy, if you would advertise that. Commissioner Dockery.
I know we're short on time. I'd just like to publicly say a sincere thank you to Ms. Mitchell for your help to me, service to this commission in Jefferson County.
Next, Commissioner McGraw, you had one other item you wanted to discuss.
I apologize, Mr. Chair, and maybe Commissioner Scarlett won't be absent anymore, so he can do it correctly, but I am supposed to get a vote from the county commission on the calendar of meetings and deadlines from the budget committee, and you have those in your packets. This came from the budget committee with a unanimous vote. So moved, Mr. Chair.
Are there any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. Next, Commissioner David Seal, Mountain View.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. March 16, 2017, we enacted a resolution 2017-17 asking the State of Tennessee Department of Children's Services to help us with certain issues concerning Mountain View Youth Development Center. Since that time, they've delivered on it. They've given us assurance that no juveniles will be placed in our public schools. They have given us a description of a high maintenance of security at that facility. They've established a protocol with law enforcement and emergency dispatch. They've met with local officials every 3 months to address concerns. Their county attorneys have a few loose ends they need to tie up. The current name of the facility is Mountain View Academy for Young Men, currently operated by TrueCorp under contract with ECS on a $10.7 million annual contract. So given those small number of remaining issues that our county attorneys ask us to deal with, I would so make a motion that the county attorney be authorized to enter into negotiations with the state of Tennessee and any other interested party or entity regarding a resolution of the issues described in Resolution 2017-17 and provide the county legislative body with recommendations on a resolution of these issues.
I'll second.
We have a motion and proper second. Are there any questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. All right, look through your announcements, and I appreciate you all being so efficient moving through this agenda tonight, and we stand adjourned.